Hi, guys. So we're getting ready to start. Oh, you've been here this whole time and now you're going to go. Well, Sammy was here this entire time up till just now. And now she's gone away. So I just thought I'd start in a minute early, give people a chance to join. Let me go get this and turn the sound off. Nice. Hello, Mr. Drew. How are you today? I'm going to stretch out my legs here. Hopefully that doesn't bounce anything. Whoops, sorry. Hello, whoever has joined us. Please say hi, just so I know who I'm chatting with. That would be lovely. And I will see if I need to move my food. If you keep seeing the screen bounce, let me know. I actually put my leg up on the table because it's even, and that way I don't have to smush up. You were listening to Joe's Polynesian Resort. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've been very tempted to go listen to that and just hear the mellow sounds of some beautiful Disney music. Ooh. So I hope you all have had a good week. Before we officially get started, so I was working down in South Carolina this week. So I am sequestering for the next 2 weeks, just to make sure I didn't find anything in the random hotel I had to stay at and all that kind of fun stuff. Doing my duty to be as safe as possible. Actually went and purchased some new masks since having to wear them a lot over the last few days. I learned about some companies I like the fit of more. Tried a couple different things, so we're all excited about that. Has everyone been having a good week, I hope? Maybe. I like the Polynesian music. I'm actually, we'll talk more about that later, Drew. So you may have noticed, since we are talking about Renfest, I'm bringing out the Renfest mug. All right, so Maryland Renaissance Festival. Since I think the extra person didn't see me talking about Renfest and must have left. So, ooh, I'm in the wrong place. No, go away. Go away. That's what I want. Thank you. It should still be off. Good. So, the question was brought up by Lisa, who wanted to hear stories about the festival. Some of the stuff that I have, because I've been doing the festival for about 25 years now. And over that time, stuff has happened. And some of the stuff can be quite amusing. So let me see if I officially... It was like first Maryland Festival Day, rainy day memory, heat memory. So odds and ends of what stories, stick in my mind. And I thought I would take it a little farther since we'll probably be here for a little bit longer. And if you guys have questions, as I am sitting here, please go ahead, type your questions in on the side there. If you're watching this after the fact and there's something that you want to learn more about, type it in the comments down below. And I figured we'll get started. So rainiest day that I remember. And there are plenty of rain days. And for those of us who work the festival, we've learned how to make rain days fun. They are some of the most miserable days, but they can also be some of the most amusing and entertaining days. This one particular day, though, it must have been dry enough that the storm had hit out of nowhere. And all right, so a number of people talk about let's take this a step back. So what year would that have been? Probably around 97, 98 or 99. We were doing Catherine of Aragon again, and we had Eustace Chapuis. And Eustace Chapuis is the character, not the actor. And yeah, Renfest mug, yes. And Eustace Chapuis was the ambassador to Spain, I believe. He was very much an ardent supporter of Catherine of Aragon. Hated Anne Boleyn. He may have been the person who actually came up with the "she has 6 fingers" rumor. But the character, there was a guy playing him on cast that year. And of course, because Chapuis didn't get along with the king because he was bad mouthing a king, there was always that negativity to the character that sort of played out. And when it started pouring rain, all I started hearing about was, oh, look, it's the River Chapuis over by the Fortune stage. And again, I'm doing, let me stop doing that near the microphone. If you're hearing clicking, that's like me doing this thing, which is annoying as heck. So sorry about that. So over by the Fortune stage, coming down the hill from the joust field, going down toward the boardwalk area, because of the way that the water is coming off that hill and the way that everything starts running that way. Once you hit about Fortune, past the food booths, there's a little river. And this was actually, prior to this, we really didn't have so much river erosion. Like every time it rains now, you see that huge dropping thing. Hello, Norfolk Dashcam. Nice to meet you. Not interrupting your story, but my favorite rainy day memory was going up to the audience to see Johnny Fox when he called us all and joined him on stage. Okay, I'm going to tell you a story. We're changing stories because you have just alighted something to my brain. Do you know why people started bringing people up on stage? It was 1990. Let's see. If I started 6, it was 7, it was 8. I had just gone off and taught a commedia class, a workshop for a group in Cincinnati, Ohio. They were doing a hearing and silent actor version of a Comedy of Errors. And they were doing it with hearing actors and non-hearing actors playing the roles. But to allow people to switch in and out, they wanted to do Commedia dell'arte masks. So they had me come out, teach them how to move. Yes, I'm teaching someone in sign language how to move. And that's got to be it. Let me move my leg. Let me get this here. I will bend the knee. So they had me go out and teach the class, and I did castings of all their faces. We built up masks, and then that's what they performed in. Well, it was a traveling company, and the traveling company, this is really Renfest involved, promise. The traveling company came, they had a day off on a weekend, and were by the Renaissance Festival. So they came to come see the show. And it was a rain day. And because of that, I was performing on the Globe that year, and I was concerned. No, it was 97. Sorry, it was 97. And I was performing at the Globe, and when it rains, the audience is sopping wet. You can't do the show. And the show after mine was Shakespeare Scum. And I went up to the entertainment director and I said, hey, I've got these people that were coming in specifically to see the show. And with the rain, we can't really, they're not really going to be able to stand in the audience and watch it. Would it be okay if I brought them up on stage? And she said, well, don't advertise it. I went, no. I just want to tell that small group of people and let them see the show, put a chair out or whatever. And we'll do just a compact version of it so they can see the work I was teaching them in action. And she was like, all right, that's okay. So when it came down time for the show, empty crowd, empty audience. And we had the curtains closed, and we told my friends, the performers, come on in and we'll have you come to the stage. And we had a couple benches that you see on stage quite frequently, the wood benches, and we put those out. We set our props, and then when it was time for the show to start, we opened the curtains, and they were sitting on the chairs. And as we're starting everything up, someone from way back over on the path says, hey, are you doing a show? Yeah. Can we watch? Yeah, sure. And then all of a sudden, people keep coming up onto the stage. We had about 45, 50 people standing under the awning watching this learn and change version of what I do. And it was really fun, and we finished, thanked everybody, closed the curtains, and like I said, Shakespeare Scum was after us, and Carol, the entertainment director, was there, and I said, "Hey, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and pull the benches back." And she went, "Oh, no, no, no. You can leave them there." And the curtains opened, and Shakespeare Scum did their show there. And the entire rest of the day, everyone did their performances on the stage like that. That was the first time that people started doing the performances on the stage. I will take full credit for that one. Now, someone may have something else in the history that changes the perception, but as far as I know, and up to 1997, no one ever did the shows if it was actively raining, if you couldn't do it with the audience standing out in the house. Now, these days, unfortunately, the steps of the globe are not in grand shape, so we don't bring people up there anymore. But you will see people being brought up sometimes on gatehouse under the awning. And all of that stuff was done because of me. So there's my big story. Ooh, what do we got here? Up close magic. Johnny Fox was astonishing to see from him. Yeah, he is Johnny was an incredible sleight of hand magician, and to see all of that, yeah, made such a difference. Yes, I was a trendsetter. I remember seeing Bloody Drama do that. Might have been, yep, it was the same day later in the day. Yep, it was me. Then it was Scum. Then it was, I think, Bloody Drama, and then there was another Scum, and I think the Shakespeare that day even did it. I'm trying to remember. I think Len and Joy directed the Shakespeare that year. But yeah, everyone just started performing up there. It was quite hysterical. So, ooh, trendsetter me. Yeah, so that's probably the most memorable rainy day story. And well, actually, I take that back. The more memorable one, similar thing. We were performing Lelio and who was doing? I guess it was Hamish at the time. And I think he went by. Did he go by Scapino? No, I don't remember which name Truffaldino. We gave him Truffaldino. And I were performing Taming of the Shrew, which is a 3-person, only the good parts, 40-minute version of Taming of the Shrew on Globe. And the wind started picking up, and it started getting nutsy crazy weather-wise. And we had started the show assuming we'd be able to have people in the audience, and then like God started speaking to us saying no. And I think we actually lost a tree branch into the audience. I mean, it was one of those like, ah, and everyone came up on the stage, and then it's a much more acrobatic, much more physical show. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh dear God, ah, and we were like, I had to do a 2-person backflip, like in a third of this, no, in like a fifth of the space that we normally would have. Because normally I could do it, I could bounce, I could. No, it's like shoot, really tight in the spot. It's pouring rain. One of the people who worked there actually had gotten time off and had come to see it, and got these great shots of like really intimate with the audience around us. It felt very 1960s artsy, kind of, the way that stuff would get done, very in your face. It was very cool though. Yeah, it was so much fun. It was so much fun to kind of really share that experience with the audience. But yeah, so the River Chapuis came through. Now the worst rainstorm would have, it was my birthday. Whatever year, August 26th was on a Sunday, most recently, probably about 4 years ago, 5 years ago. And all I can remember is the rain was so bad. I luckily had shoes that were still water sealed. It was so bad. The poor, in the center area where the Thor's hammer thingy is, between that and oh shucks, was a cheesecake sales lady. One of the girls who would be there, young girls. And she got up into the little cheesecake booth and could not step out. In fact, the water was, she's like the wheels, and then she's on that level. The water came up that high, like it was just below the booth. She was stranded in her cheesecake booth for about an hour until the water finally settled down and came down enough that she could get out. It was pretty intense. And that's really where you started seeing those gutted erosions over by Lyric. The big, we keep refilling them in, and then every rainstorm, they all disappear again. What do we got? Rainy days these days. I'm very fond of the signs put out in the puddles. Yes, I love the sharks. I love the shark puddles, the shark fins that you'll see in there. I really think someone should just do like a single hand coming out of it, or a hand holding a help sign that's just sticking out of the puddle. I think that would be hysterical if they could submerge it and stabilize it, because yeah, that would make me laugh. That would definitely make me laugh. And again, like I said, if you guys have questions, throw them out at any point. I am happy to answer, address, specific things. The no diving, yeah. Well, somebody did. Joe says, Dennis was our most fun 1999 Labor Day weekend. Rained all 3 days. Morning music was at the White Hart on top of the tables. Yep. Yeah, there was one where I had gotten sick. It was pouring rain. It wasn't Dennis. It was at least 8 or 9 years ago. It was the last interpreter's year, I believe. And I had gotten really sick, but I'm still trying to perform. My voice was just croaky. It was pouring rain. I looked like a drowned rat. And I'm still going on. And I remember someone wrote afterwards, they were terrified for my life because I'm sounding like, I was like Kathleen Turner squared. It was, yeah. And oh, and I think that's also when I had hurt my ankle because Drew ended up having to walk me back to the costume house on a cane. It was just bad all around. It was really bad all around. Oh yeah, and I was on the cane and some jerk was standing in front of the door to the closet for the White Hart where I was trying to get in, and I was like, "Can you please move? Oh, what are you going to give me? Get the hell out of the!" I was not. I think I got in the closet and I broke down and cried for a little while, and then went out and sang. It was not a good day. I survived, so it's fine, but it was not a good day. What do we got here? That wasn't that long ago. Interpreters, yeah. I Mustard Seed was the year after the interpreters, and I've done Mustard Seed for 5 years, and I didn't do her last year. So we're talking about 7-8 years since the interpreters separated and went our several ways. So yeah, been a while. All right, so those are the rainy days. Anyone else have a rain story you want to share? Okay, type it in if you do, and we will talk about it. Also, if you are joining now, please, if you can, throw a thumbs up down at the bottom there to let me know you care. If you like, if you are not already subscribed, although I think most of you are, please go ahead and subscribe. If you hit the bell notification icon, you'll know when I go live without you having to sit here and look for all the posts over on Facebook or Instagram. That way you're ready to jump in. Hello, Miss Terry Taylor. Welcome, welcome. We are talking about, we just finished all the rain stories about the Maryland Renaissance Festival. I think we're going into the other temperatures. Do you want to hear hot or cold first? Do you want the really, oh dear God, hot stories or the really, oh dear God, cold stories? Let me know which one you want to do. But we're playing catch up. So again, thank you for the likes. Thank you for joining. And for those of you watching at any point, down in the description, I have links to Ko-fi and PayPal if you would like to help support, given that I don't have a festival income this year, and a lot of us don't. So I'm still trying to support the stuff that I do. But, hey, you want to go for in order, hot first. Okay, and what have we got here? Tell us why everyone performs through hurricanes. Because people show up. Honest to God, there was a year we closed for the hurricane. No, we didn't close for the hurricane, but it was the hurricane. We got a little rain in the morning, and then it was just kind of windy. If people are gonna be there, if it was one, like there was one where, oh God, was it Dennis that shut down all the power, Joe? There was one where it was like really bad, and we did have the roads got shut down, and we couldn't open the next day. And there were even there were a couple of people camping in the camping ground, and we were like saying, "You're coming home. You're coming to our sorted houses." Oh no, I'm going to tough it out. No, you're getting out of here. It's like the stage managers are telling the actors who are deciding they're going to be big old men to move now. It was pretty funny. Floyd, thank you. 2 weeks later. 1 year they didn't, and then when Hannah came through, we were dry. But exactly. Nobody came because DC and Baltimore themselves were getting slammed, and we were fine. It was a little windy, and the people who were local or made it was like a rain day, but it was just a plain quiet overcast day at the festival. Terry Drew in order. Okay, so hot first. All right, so my hottest story, my hot story is actually pre-opening. So in 1997, the festival, we were in dress rehearsal. Well, we were in rehearsals. I was the first year that I was not officially on cast. I was a stage straight act, and I had a stage show with Croker, and Croker and I were doing sort of our final dress rehearsal. It was the Saturday before we opened. It was 106 degrees. And because we were trying to test everything out, we were doing full costumes and masks and full on energy because it was a show. And because we had actually Laura and Bonnie of the Body Balladeers coming to watch. And yeah, yikes, Terry is correct. It was a yikes. But it was, oh dear God, hot. I mean, I just, you know, pouring sweat into your eyes when you're in the masks, but we had a little bit of an audience that we were trying to get some feedback from. So we were doing the full on show. It is not the absolute worst temperature I have ever had. Let me know if you give me permission to talk about another festival instead of talking about just Maryland, because right now I'm trying to keep the stories all Maryland based. But if you give me permission, I will tell you about a day that was even hotter, trying to sword fight with very, very hot metal just in a place you would never have expected. But I'll wait and see if people have that. I'm remembering a story about a bus from Pennsylvania for the rain stories. A bus from Pennsylvania. If you're talking about the props and costumes that were in the truck in Paducah, Kentucky, when I was with the traveling theater company, and the guy decided that he was going to use a 10-pound stage weight as cruise control in the truck by himself, and hydroplaned and crashed all of our costumes and props on the side of the highway in the middle of nowhere. That's different. That's not Renfest. Permission granted to tell all the stories. Okay. My life is mad boring. Go. All right. So, Wisconsin Renaissance Festival, Chippewa Falls. This is not Bristol. This is the other side. It was a new little festival that they were opening up. I believe it is defunct now. And okay, so they really had no trees because they kind of cleared everything out to build this festival. It was its second year. We had come in and we were doing that show. And that is the name of the show. That show. It has sword fighting. We did not do the flash. We used to have fire in that show. You all know the fire story. We're not going to go there. It's not my tale to tell. But it was, I had a little Timex clock that also had a temperature gauge on it that I had sitting backstage, just so we had a clock together because acts might run long or short or whatever. And it was kind of nice to know what was going on temperature wise. So in that one, we also put on masks. We also were, put the gloves on and doing the sword fighting thing. And you guys know me well enough to know that I am very careful about hydrating. I'm the one who walked around with the biosalts for people who were losing too much salt on top of their sweating. I'm hyper careful and mama hen on everybody. We're doing this sword fight, and then we have to clear the stage for the next act. And I grab what I can, and I had my gloves off. We've been sword fighting with the gloves, and then they laid on the stage. And it was this brutally hot summer day. They're laying on the stage, and I went to grab it, and I had to drop the sword because I started to burn my hand, and then found another way to grab stuff, got off the stage, dropped the props. Again, normally very professional, put everything around, and then you sit down. I got backstage, dropped the props, and didn't pass out, but my knees buckled, and I just sat. And just sat for a couple minutes, and then was handed water and guzzled that and could start to move again. I went to look at the temperature gauge behind the stage that was sitting it had been hit by a beam of sunlight backstage because, wood stage. And this one little beam of light was hitting it, and it said 113 degrees in Wisconsin. Yeah, that was hot. Sword fighting. And you have to add on more layers when you're playing. It's just brutal. Don't like doing that. Okay. The PA bus that came to Maryland, and they had closed. And that's before my time. But okay, I will mention that. The story of the bus arriving. Okay, thank you. All right. So I will. Yeah, it was before Joe and my time. But basically, they were expecting a rain day, so the festival decided to close. They left. They sent everybody home. And It was pouring rain in the morning at 8:30, you know, when people are starting to get there and get ready. They called it, everyone go home. They kept they let them, two actors stay in Beefeater costumes. I think it was Tim and Evan. It might not have been. I don't know if you know Evan, Joe. But they were in their Beefeater costumes, you know, and basically being the, park's closed kind of Wally World character. And the sun came out. It's beautiful out. Beautiful out. People are driving up. Oh, we're coming to the festival. I'm sorry, the festival's closed. What do you mean? Well, it's closed for weather. What do you mean? It's closed for rain. Yeah, they never closed after that again. That was end of that. So they pretty much always open. The only time that they have not has been when the grounds were so unsafe they simply could not. I mean, even if it was glorious sunny all day, it was unsafe. And I think I once posted video of one of the other vendors kind of running through it, the squishy mud, like your shoes would get sucked into it because the mud was this deep. And I'm not exaggerating, like it was this deep. The hurricane, when it totally knocked down the trees and blocked off the road, like we almost couldn't get back to site to get our things. I was actually on site that day, that the most recent day they closed. I had my makeup like half on. I was doing mustard seed, and I was literally half made up for the day. And I got a call from one of the other actors going, and you already know that the festival's closed today. So I thought we could wait. What? Yeah. Oh, you didn't hear? No, I'm here on site. Oh, yeah, the festival's closed. I'm like, okay. Start taking the makeup off. And all my makeup removal stuff was inside the costume house. Luckily, there were some people there to let me in, cleaned up, and then we all went out and had a lot of mimosas. Well, they did. I don't drink during festival season, but there was a lot of mimosa drinking happening. We found out that the unlimited mimosas actually has a limit. Yeah, we discovered that. It was sad. But okay, what do we got here? We'll chat later. Terry can't let the feds know too much. Dun dun. Gotta hang out. You seems to know where all the body. Yeah, well, because I've told him in private where some of the bodies are buried. He follows me around. Shark, shark, shark. Go, go, run away from the shark. Are you watching the Sharknado while we're talking, Drew? Goodness gracious. Pardon me, my eyesight isn't what it used to be, so I'm still trying to read these things. The Beefeaters, yes. Oh, yeah, they had Beefeater costumes, I believe. Or not necessarily Beefeaters, but, the Queen's Guard or the King's Guard at that point. But, yeah, just kind of being there, the guardy type people again, Paul and Larry brought the Germans, correct. Oh, okay, so you came around Landsknecht time. Okay, and Landsknechts were... Was that 95, I think? They were already up to Catherine Howard by the time I left being a vendor and went off to study and come back. So Catherine Howard was probably 96, the first Catherine Howard. So yeah, I believe Landsknecht, Larry and Paula was, the Landsknechts coming into the festival was 95. And they've been there ever since. What do we got here? What is the limit to unlimited mimosas? Well, we found it where I'm not sure how we found it. They at one point, instead of individuals, because it was like 20 people or 15 people sitting there eating and drinking. I'm just eating. But they just said, can you just bring us one pitcher of each of the mimosas? And they did. And then they needed to start refilling certain flavors and refilling again. And I think we got there when they started at 11, and I think brunch officially ended at 4, but they cut them off around like 2:30 or 3 because they kept going through pitchers, and none of them were safe to drive. And we all packed them up in our cars and drove them to another house where they could hang out and not drive for quite a while, and then eventually go their merry ways. But far many more hours later. Yeah, it was amusing. As I'm driving people to the next location, I was being informed how much they loved me. It was very funny. It was a very funny day. I am not watching it, but it is my recent memories. That is fair. What is about that? Yeah, I know what a mimosa. Yeah, now there's a place down here near the Maryland Renaissance Festival that does pomegranate ginger mimosas. and strawberry basil mimosas and traditional mimosas, and I think they do like a Bellini, which is like the peach in there instead. But they do like they do all these flavors in mojito, and they do it. I think they do a cucumber. No, they don't do a cucumber one in the other, but they it's very tasty. It's very, very tasty. I've gone beyond the limits of unlimited Bloody Marys and mimosas. I'm guessing that's farther south, Mr. Drew, and yes, we will talk about it later because we know where all the bodies are buried. Okay, so those are our hot days. If anyone else has another, oh my God, it's so boiling hot story, go ahead and throw that one out there. And we'll start talking about some of the coldest days. Perry's. Oh, yeah. You've told me about that. I have never gotten to go to Perry's Drag Brunch. One day I would actually, does it exist still? Because it looked like it was a hoot. And that would be lovely. Titillated for the cold stories. Both they're not that exciting. So the coldest I can remember was going to be, let's see, 96, 1997 or 8. It was the first year, I think it was 97. Lelio was not officially part of Teatro at that point, but he came out. I'd met him out at RPFS. For those of you who don't know Ren Fair jargon, that's the Renaissance Pleasure Fair South. And he came out to the Maryland show, and I brought him in, and he actually did a sort of an audition weekend, I think, at that point with his kids show that he does solo. And when we got there in the morning, there was frost on a lot of stuff. The temperature, I do not think broke 40. It might not have broken 38. There might have been the slightest dusting of snow, but it was very, very light dusty. I have a picture of me. I'm in like my hat. My hair is down for scarf warmth. I have a scarf. I have gloves. I had heating pads in the gloves. I had heating pads in my boots. I had layers under my skirts. I had thermal layers under my shirt. It's really cold because you know what Columbina looks like and the corset, etc. And normally, most of my costumes are cut. So even if I'm wearing a coat for my shoulders, it's cut open because advertising. And it was so cold that they were turning pink, and not in a good way. And people were like, please, for the love of God, you're making me cold. Look at you, cover them up. Which at a Ren Fair is almost unheard of. But yeah, so I was just totally covered. And he brought out a coat that he just didn't think he was going to wear. It was furs. And he had to wear his furs and his gloves and his layers. And we look like we're, in the middle of what do they call it? The winter is coming, kind of crazy cold stuff. It was very funny. I've got company now. I went, oh, okay. Well, sorry, Joe, because I was going to ask you about this because you were around for this one. So, Joe, if you're finding this after the fact, put your comments down below into the regular stuff and share. And actually, if people are watching this after the fact and you want to share stories, go ahead and put them below. What was your coldest memory at a Renaissance festival, or hottest memory, or wettest day, etc.? Rain. But yeah, share your stories down below for people. If, again, for public consumption, realize this is a public venue, and it will be a pleasure to share those all with y'all. Okay, so that was the hottest and the coldest. Do we want technical difficulties? Do we want the funniest thing I ever saw, the funniest thing I was in, or the most emotionally powerful day? I will let you decide while I drink some water. La. So I repeat those again. Most emotionally powerful, funniest I saw, funniest I was in, or technical difficulties. I think it's up to you, Terry and Drew. La la la. La la la. Emotion. We all love the zany stories like that. Okay. All right. So the emotional one, well, that's a serious one. That is all right. So Monday, September 10th, at the end of the weekend, my cohort Patrick flew back to to home, to his girlfriend, to his secondary work that he did out in California. And then Tuesday, September 11th hit, and all hell broke loose. 2001. We all know where we are now. Everything was shut down. Everywhere you looked on the news, it was more and more horror. It was more and more repeats and showing the same thing over and over and over, and the nightmares of all of the people that we knew. The festival in New York, the festival here, because of where everything hit. The one in Pennsylvania, I think, had the same thing because they were going at the same time, and sports venues were being closed, and everything was being closed, and they finally made the decision that we were going to open, and they were getting calls all week. It was before the festival opened that morning. We were sat down and basically said, "You are Bob Hope. No one's wearing black armbands. No one's talking about it. If a patron wants to express what's going on for them, let them do what they need to do. But you are still here, and you are still in the Tudor time period, and they're not coming to hear that. They want to be here now. If they're coming out of their houses right now, they do not want that." And it was the most intense emotional day I've ever had, because the audiences laughed harder and louder and more intensely than I've ever seen before or after. My comment was they were there to laugh with a vengeance, that nothing was going to hold them back, that damn it, they were still going to survive. And it was laughter, but it was still that kind of intense release. The parents wanted somewhere that their children did not have to stare at murder and horror, and the families wanted someplace where just for a few minutes they could let it go, because it was overwhelming. And at that point, we were doing the year before we had done the Henry VIII's passing. So we were going back to the beginning of the canon, and it was now Henry with Catherine of Aragon. And the year he did the passing, he did I believe it's St. Crispin's Day speech. This world, this England, this little O. But it's Henry standing on the field and bringing encouraging his people, bringing them forward. So we were trying to figure out what to do at Pub Sing. Pub Sing ends with cannons. Nobody wanted to set off a cannon because it was too close. It was going to be too scary to hear that kind of a sound. So during the week, a lot of the vendors started talking together and saying, all right, everyone bring in bells. Bring in whatever bells you've got. If it's jingle Christmas bells, if it's a ringing, clanging bell, whatever, bring your bells in. And the Pylan's booth, which is the jewelry booth right behind White Hart Tavern, they got, I don't know who brought them in, if it was his bells or if it was from the Pirates group. I think they were his though, but they hung these big bells where now you see the chairs. And what they did is, instead of firing the cannon, they called for the night watch, which is usually the changing of the guard and the ringing of the bells of 8 between them. So what they did is, sound the evening, instead of sound the evening guns, sound the evening bells. And they hit dong dong, dong dong, dong dong, dong dong, bells of 8. As soon as they started hitting their bells, all of the vendors near them started shaking their bells. And then it started to expand and expand and expand until you heard the ringing go through the entire village, so that everybody knew that it was time. And then the trumpeters went to that top area where you can't get to now, the top level of the White Hart, and they faced in opposite directions. And they played taps, an echo of each other. One played forward, one played backward. if you've ever been in a festival grounds, in a party atmosphere, in one of those kinds of wild energy kind of amusement places, you know that there's always noise. For the first time in my life, those grounds went silent. Not a peep besides those trumpets. People were sobbing and holding each other. People were quiet. There are a lot of military people in the area because there are a lot of military big organizations in the area. And everybody who had been past military or current military was standing and at attention. And it was one of the most powerful experiences I've ever had in my life. Everyone was in that moment and together, no matter what your general beliefs are. You look at the schisms that we have nowadays, and everyone was together. And it was, I don't want to say awesome, that's not the right word, but it was awe-filling. It just took you into a new place. And Bill, the king at the time, this was before Fred, said the St. Crispin's Day speech. And the very end is like, God bless this England, God bless us. And somebody yelled, God bless the USA, and the entire space erupted in a cheer. And I mean, because the entire day, everyone knew somebody somewhere. One of my friends was driving to the Pentagon and saw the plane hit. One of my friends, my roommate actually at the time, had a cousin who was working in the second tower in New York. I think the plane hit like on the 72nd floor. He worked somewhere around 74, and he was at work that day. People knew people on the Pennsylvania flights. People personally knew people in all of these spaces. And it was that moment of, we're not going to say what we're bonding about, but we're going to bond. And there has never been anything that has topped that connection, that emotion, that overwhelming experience. Even the next day, they did the echo of the taps again, but people were talking. That first day, not a sound. They talk about, you could hear a pin drop. The only thing you heard in that entire area were those trumpets. It was so deeply moving. I don't want to ever have to go through that again to have that moment, but it was such a strong experience. So there is my strongest, most emotional. I expected the loss of a former king. Well, Bill's passing happened after festival was over, so that was very different. And I have memories about that. The funeral itself, the Landsknechts actually stood guard for the entire time of his viewing. They did that recently for the passing of one of their own as well, but in full armor and full regalia, they stood and guarded. And Bill once said to me he would stop being king when they pulled the scepter out of his cold dead hand. He was buried with it. But he's that was powerful in a different way, in a very, very different way. But yeah, it's a tough one. Stuck in Massachusetts at the time and grieving for not being able to be there for that moment. It was, yeah. I mean, it's not necessarily a memory of, I want to share this, but it's one of those that this is important. This was something that, they talk about, when Kennedy was shot, that you knew where you were. I remember where I was when Reagan was shot, when those momentous things happen. And this was 5 days later. This was the after effect. Oh, and yeah, they had just started letting planes fly that Friday. So my actor, who had flown out on Monday, was supposed to come back on like Thursday. We just got him in like 6 o'clock Friday evening in time so that he could be here for the show. So like, because during the week we're like, if they don't open up the skies and we can't let you fly, how are we going to do this? He was ready to jump in a car and start driving across country, or I was going to work with our other actor and figure out what the heck to do with the show. But it was like, and all of us are rewriting our shows. Like there's a line in one of my shows. It was I said something about the explosion of Mount Vesuvius. And I was like, I'm not saying explosion right now. And I ended up changing it to eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which I mean, actually worked. But everyone was rewriting and reworking and redoing because they didn't want to hit those triggers for people. So it was that whole day of building up to that moment of release where you're on the clock, but you're off the clock, but you're in that moment. And that's a day I can't forget. And in a way I don't want to, but beyond powerful. I thank you. I mean, it's whether it's easy or not easy to reflect upon. It's an important story, and one that I don't think needs to be forgotten in the long run. I have driving stories too, but they are not related, albeit reflectively, to the series of Maryland events. Yeah. How are we doing on time? Okay, so we got about 15 more minutes. Let's go to happier stuff. Before I forget, if you are watching this and enjoying this before or after the fact, please hit that thumbs up and let me know you enjoyed the show. If you are looking to help support the cause, please feel free to go to the links below. There's a Ko-fi and PayPal to help support all of my assorted projects and stuff. And hey, my birthday's Wednesday. No, that is, don't worry about it. But if you would like to, most memorable, happy, if not inspiring moments. Okay, well, this one is this is a funny one. This would be the funniest moment I was not actively in. Also took place at Pub Sing. So years ago, we had a group called Theater in the Ground. One of the gentlemen from that group is currently performing at the Pennsylvania Ren Fair and other Ren Fairs. Thank you for the like, doing the most obscene poetry you have ever heard in your life. He's brilliant at it. You think I'm naughty, you think the O'Dannies might get a little raunchy. No, he's like outright like not XR rated. Like no, they put him in a separate. He's hysterical. And he will make it clean too, but wow. He's fabulous. One of the other gents has been did a Gravedigger this past year at Maryland, over at the church, at the chapel. He was in the graveyard doing shows about funerals and stuff. It was hysterical. Very, very talented group of people. Well, one of the things that they had done is they had gotten a mini trebuchet. If you don't know what a trebuchet is, it's this wooden kind of contraption, and you've seen it where like they put the boiling oil or the pitch, and then they hit a thing and it goes shh, and it throws the thing in a real far distance. So it's basically you hit something and it shoots it the other direction as a counterbalance. So they made these little miniature ones, they were trebucheting grapes, across the field, trebucheting like Willie Whitnott was the first guy, and Scratch was the other one. So Willie would trebuchet a grape, and Scratch would try to catch it in his mouth, sort of popcorn thing. But they were like flinging it, and it was hysterical. It was just this crazy stuff they were doing in the streets between their shows. So the Pub Sing at that point, we would bring some of the stage acts in to do silly things. So they decided that they were going to trebuchet oysters and have him try to catch an oyster in his mouth. Now, behind the scenes, which no one else there would have necessarily known, Willie Whitnott mentioned to me, just like kind of backstage, that they were actually trying to make sure that he would miss so that things would go awry, and they might let him catch the last one, kind of thing. And he was having some problems with getting the angles right on the little trebuchet thingy. But so Scratch goes up to the stage and he says, I am going to catch an oyster in my mouth being flung by Willie Whitnott. And if I am not successful in this, I will slide up. Okay, so if you looked at the White Hart way back when before we had all of the microphones all over the place, there was this little wood kind of stand, and that was where we wired up the mics, and there were 2 or 3 mics there, one short, one 2 tall ones, depending on the year. And that's where the microphones would be, and they would be covered in vines, so they didn't look like they were microphones. And so the middle microphone must not have been there, because Scratch said that he was going to catch an oyster in his mouth, and if he was not successful in catching an oyster in his mouth, he was going to get up onto the little wood things, slide back and forth, and give himself anal splinters. That is a quote. So they set the first one up, and Willie goes and flings it, and it flings like, and they've cleared the stage for him. But so they fling the first one, he misses it, and he gets up on the railing and slides and does the back and forth sliding, ow, ow, ow thing. It was amusing. And they might even have done it for 2 of them. We got to the third one. God bless the magic comedy of threes. They get to the third one, and he goes to fling it, and what Wes was trying to do was fling it outside. So he was really trying to get it like up and over, and it wasn't the full high clamshell that you had before, but it did have kind of an archway that half framed it. So like the back half of the stage was covered, but the front half wasn't. And he went to fling it over. At least that was the plan. So yeah. If you ever look at that particular stage, it had this arch, but in the very center there was this kind of little artistic divot thing, and then it went into the big arch. And it was, I mean, the real size of it is only about that big, and then long big arch. And Willie shot the oyster really high, and it hooked on that little divot thing and stuck. Can't move on. It's still up there. Scratch is standing on the stage like this. Waiting for it to fall. 5 seconds passes. 10 seconds passes. 20 seconds passes. We can't go on. It's still up there. We're in the middle of the act. So pirates are on the edge of the stage, and they start kind of jumping up and down on the stage, hoping to make it move. Then they start grabbing the side rails of the stage, trying to shake them. And Scratch informed us later that as he's staring up in the sky, he's thinking to himself, oh God, it's attached to a spider web. Oh God, what am I going to be eating? There's like, it's hooked, it's got spider webs attached. I mean, it's like this, nothing goes up there except the bugs. So it's disgusting. And he's like, They are taking a broom and trying to whack it down. They're banging at the stage. They're whacking it. They're shaking the stage. The entire Pirates Royale are up there. It's like there's like 8 people trying to shake the stage to make this stupid thing fall. And Wes is standing next to me, and Scratch is sitting there up on the stage waiting. And finally it falls right into his mouth. And he ate it because he's that devoted. I was laughing so hard, I had literally fallen on the ground. It was tears streaming down my face, laughing. The entire Pub Sing audience was put in a standstill for about 3.5 minutes while we tried to get that stupid oyster down. It was brilliant. It was so much fun. Poor Scratch had to eat a spiderweb covered oyster, but it was worth it. It was worth it for the comedy. Oyster Sacrifice Animal Soldiers is my next album. I like that. I've discussed it. Yeah. Oh no, it was amazing. It was amazing. Most memorable happy. Oh, of course, besides meeting you. That's That's a different story, and we're not sharing that one here. Because that has stuff in it. I don't know if you even remember that. I'm leaving it there. All right, so we are in the last 5 minutes. So we can do let's do, I did that one. You said technical difficulties. I'll give you a quick technical difficulty story, but I think no, I'm giving you a different story. I'll tell you technical difficulties later because I have an average one. So every year at the end of the season, the interpreters used to do what we call the unscripted show, in which we had songs we sort of had started to work on that weren't ready necessarily for the show yet, things we wrote, or we would make a sketch or something that was specifically just for that experience. And one year we convinced a certain performer from the festival to make an appearance in drag. So Trinket has family members, and all of the family members had names like Bauble, her sister, Bijou, her mother, or not, I think Bijou might have been her grandmother, but she had all of these like, Trinket, Bauble, Bangle, that was all of the family's names. And they had the mauve sheep of the family, because pink and mauve is, for those of you who don't know, Trinket wore blindingly pink, and her sister wore blindingly pink, and other people that related to her family were blindingly pink. And their cousin, the mauve sheep of the family, not pink, but mauve, in a blonde wig, because they were also all blonde, and in all pink, came up on the stage. He did not shave his mustache. I don't even think he attempted to cover it. We sang, those of you might recognize him as Dinty the Moor. He may kill me for telling this story, but, there actually is, I think, some footage somewhere of it. I'm not allowed to share it, but it's pretty funny. And we sang a spiritual of drop low, take care of it, instead of swing low, sweet chariot. Yes, you started it, you finish it. I didn't say I was stopping. So he came up and we sang that. Well, there's a joke with the interpreters where when Trinket would go off kilter, she would go emotionally in a weird direction, or she would start rambling, or she would start insulting my character, or anything started going on. I would set my hand on the side of her head and push it to the side, and it would come back. She'd be like, "And we're back." And then it would be a reset button, like nothing had ever happened. So when her sister Bauble jumped in and did the show a couple times, we did that with her. And we're back. So I could do them simultaneously. Well, now there's 3 of them. So we're doing the show. People are showing up because Dinty is all in pink with a blonde wig. And they're all thinking this is great and hysterical and lovely. And then something goes awry. And I decide, they all start jumping up and down like giddily little girl things like they often do. So I go to reset them. And I put my hand on Bobble's head and I push it, and she goes, "And we're back." And I go over to Trinket and I put my hand there and I reset her, "And we're back." And I go next to Zirconia and I put my hand on the head and sit it, "And we're black." For those of you who don't know, he is African American. The house fell out laughing. It was his choice, his joke. He was all in for it. I think he was more concerned about the blonde wig and the pink dress than anything else. That there are moments when you hear, and he's the one who describes this, there's this sound you hear when that magic moment of comedy happens. It's like the beyond funny moment, and you hear it coming at you from the audience, and it's like this wave, this roar that just kind of washes over you of wah, and the laughter, and it goes and it goes and it goes. And that moment, he's like, I've never heard that before, and oh my God. And it was like, yeah, oh my God. I mean, we had 1 or 2 other moments that hit near that, but that moment was whoosh. And yeah, we're watching other people crying in the audience because they're laughing so hard, and that was a happy moment. So I technically do have 2 more stories here, but we are at. Oh, you hadn't. Oh yeah, Drew. Yeah, it's a pretty funny one. And we're black. Because we set it up with and we're back and we're back. It was like it's that comedy setup, and it was fabulous punchline. It was oh my god. And Zirconia was such a good sport. um so we are about at the end of time. The only other stories I pre-written down were a small technical snafu, and then I don't know, Drew. Do you know the story about the Peanuts routine when the cannon went off during the Peanuts routine? I'll give you a second because I know you don't hear you've got a time delay on this stuff. Again, as I'm finishing this up, if you have watched this, if you've enjoyed these stories, if you'd like to hear more stories, please put that in the comments below and let me know. If you want, what kind of tales that you want to hear to be told about, and now again, I'm not going to do anything that's going to be offensive, but tales about different people, tales about different stories, things that happened, something from specific years, characters that I've played, whatever. Anything you want to know more about, throw that in the comments below. And I think I'm waffling. Next week was probably going to be a sort of a mask training-y type piece again, but I am very tempted because it is the opening day of Renfest to do a mini sing-along of some of the Perfect Touch in Colombina music. If you have a preference of what you would like to hear, put that in the comments below and let me know. Again, if you're watching this now, please remember to like, please subscribe to the channel and hit that bell notification. That lets you know anytime I'm going to be coming here with new content. It lets me know that you're enjoying what I'm doing with the whole series and with the shows. If you can support me, again, I appreciate it. You do not have to. Just you liking, subscribing, and being involved, that's great too. But if you can, there's the Ko-fi link and the PayPal links are below. I appreciate you just spending the time with me and sharing this. It's been kind of amazing. And Drew has said, I strongly wish to hear about the Marionette Stupina, but that can be. Oh, I didn't have any specific stories about Marionette Stupina. I mean, I can tell you how she was created, if that's what you're talking about. Peanuts is a gag. Oh, no. This was a specific one. Okay, so the Peanuts routine. I will explain briefly the Peanuts routine for the people here who do not know. So one of the bits that we do is my character is Italian. So I have Italiano accent, and I have a cabana boy named Scapino, and Scapino has a Spanish accent. So Scapino comes in to tell me, and I tell him I'm hungry and I'm tired and I just need something, and I need him to pick me up. And he says, you know what you need? You need some of my world famous pinos. It's the best pinos. And I'm like, oh yes, I love your pinos. It's the best pinos. It's so good. And we're talking back and forth and back and forth. Well, at the point when he starts talking about this, Trinket is taking a drink of water and does a spit take. For those of you who don't know, it's that, and the water goes blowing everywhere. I'm not doing that near the computer. And then she's freaking out and freaking out and freaking out until she starts realizing, oh, the Spanish penis still has the skin on it. And, a Trinket doesn't like the penis, but maybe if we really pound it hard, then she can have the penis butter. Penis butter is the decent, with the accents, of course. And she suddenly starts laughing hysterically and turns to the audience and says, peanuts. They're talking about peanuts. What did you think we were talking about? I don't know. And then we go on to the rest of the show, and that ends that shtick. So this one day, they had a special act in the festival that day. It was on the jousting field, and they were doing showing the military from the time period, and they were doing cannon fire and all kinds of stuff. And this was just this moment of, and they were blowing a cannon in the middle of their show. Well, we're in the middle of doing our show, and she's laughing and laughing and laughing, and she's like, oh, they're talking about peanuts. And she puts her head in, and we say, what do you think we were talking about? And you hear boom. And at that point, the audience was laughing so hard she couldn't do the next move. And she just waited, and the roar of the laughter, because the timing was so perfect. It was like, what did you think we were talking about? Cannon boom. I don't know. But she waited, I'm going to say 45 seconds before she could say anything, because you wouldn't have heard her, because the audience was laughing so hard. It was that magic moment of timing. I was informed that Hey Nunny Nunny was on the lyric stage at that point, and when the boom went off during their show, they had just said, I think the Mother Superior character had just, no, it was the other one, had just, Philomena had just said something that was mildly sacrilegious, and she looked at Scott like, I didn't mean it, I'm so sorry. You know, there were a number of different acts that were on stage at that moment that all had that kind of a magic boof that they just played with whatever happened. It was so funny because it was just like, I mean, we couldn't move. We were trying not to laugh. We were not particularly successful. The audience laughed more because we were laughing. It was a lovely, lovely thing. It was a lovely, lovely thing. Well, we are 5-6 minutes after. So I'm going to say thank you so much for being a part of this today. As I said, if you follow on afterwards and you want to throw some comments my way about what things you'd like to see, what things you'd like to hear about, it will be my pleasure to share tales with you. I'm thinking, unless what must have a show with a bowl on your head. We can talk about Stupina. We can talk about the bowl song. There are actually a number of bowl song stories, some happy, some not. Strongly wish to hear about your Marion. Okay. So, all right. So I will try to make notes about Marionette, Stupina, and the bowl song. Do you know how the bowl song was created? I'm curious. Random other people probably don't know this, but I know Drew may or may not know it. So I'm going to say that's it for today, but I am thrilled and grateful, and thank you so much for taking part in hearing these stories. And if you're watching these afterwards, maybe you're going to watch these on opening day of the Maryland Festival, and merry meet again. Yeah, because I think Parting Glass needs to happen opening day. So I have a feeling I'm going to just kind of work on my music stuff and do a singing show. Just do some Columbina singing. I might not be in costume. I may be in costume. Who knows? But thank you very much. And I'm glad you could join me or that you're watching. And I'll talk to you soon. I don't have a tagline.